3 sinister true summer horror tales revealed. Unexplained encounters that haunt you forever. The summer night was thick with humidity, each breath heavy with something unspoken. Rachel flitted behind the bar, pouring drinks for hidden sorrows and stale laughter. Patrons occupied their usual perches, drowning their mundane realities in swirling, neon cocktails. Outside, the world wore a friendly face, but the darkness held secrets that twisted her insides. She felt it, a gnawing ache. The clock ticked away precious hours with every beat, a ruthless reminder of the children waiting at home. Unbeknownst to Rachel, Ethan and Lily were inches from danger just beyond their porch. The neighborhood had every charm: manicured lawns and waving neighbors, but Mr. Hargrove's house loomed shadowy among them. With his unsettling grin and handful of candy, he drew them in like moths to a flickering light. Ethan giggled as Lily clutched his hand, unaware of the undercurrent of danger lurking just below the surface. Mr. Hargrove shared stories drenched in eerie nostalgia, a cautionary tale of a girl who vanished without a trace. Each sweet bite felt like a whisper from the depths, an invitation to trust, unburdened by fear. At the very heart of Maple Grove, Rachel let the laughter mask the worry gnawing at her gut. She noticed the hushed conversations by the dartboard, side glances cast her way as if speculation had become flavor of the night. But it was the note that truly rooted dread in her chest. The jagged letters warned of a wolf hiding behind friendly facades. She chuckled nervously, dismissing it as a prank until cold sweat gathered at her temples. With the ticking clock echoing in her ears, the feeling churned painfully within her, an aching certainty that something was wrong. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The following weeks fused into a haze of exposed vulnerability. Rachel's heart raced each evening. She caught fleeting shadows dancing at the edge of perception. The neighborhood that once felt safe now pulsed with an unseen threat, like a dark whisper circling back to the children. The stories of the missing girls replayed in her mind like a horror movie reel, reeling closer to some unspeakable truth. Her resolve snapped late one night. The moon hung low and indecipherable clouds drifted overhead as she made her way to confront Mr. Hargrove. She could hear her heartbeat in her ears. The world around her warped into a bizarre landscape of shadows, stretching and warping menacingly. Each step heightened her awareness. Every creak of a branch felt like hands reaching for her. The innocence of her children's laughter echoed hauntingly, tainted by the dread that coated everything. As she neared his home, the air turned morose, a thick fog of fear. The park, once a sanctuary, was now an unnerving labyrinth. Rachel's breath turned shallow. What had once been grass beneath her feet felt like an uncharted territory, each blade whispering the town's dark past, urging her deeper into an abyss she never wanted to explore. She was no longer just a mother seeking answers. She was a figure at the edge of a smokescreen about to unravel. Something lurked behind her. The presence felt predatory, like a wolf scenting its prey. Panic surged through her veins, propelling her forward. The clock struck fear into her heart, echoing ominously. As she turned, breathless and wildly terrified, she had one question nailed to her mind. Could she unveil the darkness before it claimed her children? The darkness pressed heavily against Rachel as she stepped onto the cobbled path leading to Mr. Hargrove's house. The shadows slithered, creeping around her like tendrils of smoke. They whispered secrets carried on the wind. The world around her seemed to dull, colors fading into muted grays. Even the stars above appeared hesitant to look down on this place. Her heart thundered a relentless war drum urging her forward, yet every instinct screamed to turn back. With each footfall, she felt the vulnerability of exposed skin, raw and unprotected, as though the night itself could reach out and wrap around her, pulling her deeper into its grasp. Ahead, the silhouette of Hargrove's home materialized. The porch light flickered, casting jittery shadows that danced menacingly on the walls. She could almost hear laughter, a twisted echo flowing from within. It sounded like her children, sweet and innocent, now tainted by this creep of dread. Rachel was close enough now to make out the details. The paint was peeling. Sagging corbels hung like broken bones. A chill swept through her bones, and she stood frozen, searching for courage. Her trembling hand raised to knock, but in that moment, the door swung open with a shriek, revealing Mr. Hargrove, grinning wide, as if expecting her. "Rachel, what a delight!" His voice dripped with syrupy sweetness, yet it echoed with something sinister beneath. She struggled to speak, words caught like shards of glass in her throat. Trapped in the predator's gaze, she managed to force out, "Where are my children?" His smile faltered ever so slightly, then returned, more unsettled than before. "Why, they're just playing. Come inside, I've been telling them stories. It's quite enchanting." Every instinct screamed to run, but the glimmer of a flickering candle caught her attention. It illuminated a path into a room brimming with toys, Ethan's favorites, mixed with toys that had seen better days. Lost items gathered from the neighborhood. "Look at all the fun we have here," Hargrove cooed, flipping lights on as if they were performers in a puppet show. The glow revealed cracks in the walls, whispering tales of neglect and darkness. The air was stale, an odd mix of sweetness and rot. She stepped inside, drawn like a moth to a flame, her body betraying her mind. The room pulsed with an energy she couldn't define. Shadows flitted away from her presence, as if betraying their master. Then she caught a glimpse Lily, her hair braided like freshly spun gold, nestled in a corner, too still, too quiet. Her heart plummeted. "Lily, Ethan," Rachel cried out, but her voice trembled, faltering against the weight of the oppressive atmosphere. Mr. Hargrove moved closer, his expression darkening. Now, it's a secret garden for kids. They love it here, don't you?" Lily blinked, slowly, as if waking from a dream. "Mommy," it broke something within Rachel. In that instant, the facade cracked. Rachel lunged forward, pushing past Hargrove, fear igniting her. "Get away from her." But he laughed, a deep rumble filled with shadows. "You can't take them. They belong to the night now." Rachel grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her toward the exit. The toys began to twitch, almost alive. A cacophony of laughter erupted, surrounding her, the shadows now racing toward them. The cold realization hit. This was no ordinary game. As they broke free from the house, a horrible howl erupted behind them, chilling their bones. Terrified, they stumbled into the dark, breathless with fear. Could they escape? Could anyone truly save the children from the monsters lurking in the day? "Mommy, what is happening?" Lily whimpered, eyes wide with both fear and confusion. But Rachel had no answers. A solitary question throbbed in her mind. Had they truly escaped? Or was this merely the beginning of a hunt that had only just begun? Every instinct now screamed that the darkness was not outside, but creeping closer, hiding within. What awaited them in the silence of night? The street was shrouded in a dense fog, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Rachel pulled Lily closer, the icy grip of terror clutching at her heart. Each step away from Mr. Hargrove's home felt like a step deeper into the void. But they had to run. "Where's Ethan?" The question slipped out, and dread pooled in Rachel's stomach, heavy and unyielding. The streets were too quiet, suffocated by the density of the fog. It draped over the world, clouding their path. The trees lining the street looked like gnarled arms reaching out, grasping for something lost. "I don't know." Lily's small voice shook, punctuating the aching silence. "Is he okay?" Rachel didn't answer. A primal instinct screamed at her to keep moving. They needed to get far away from that house, away from anything that looked like Mr. Hargrove. The echoes of his laughter haunted her, twisting around her like a noose. Looking back felt like an invitation to the darkness. But then, a flicker of movement in the shadows caught her eye, a dark shape flickering amongst the trees. She froze, heart racing. Was it him? Or something worse? "Mommy?" Lily tugged at her sleeve, her innocent tone grounding her in the moment. But Rachel's instincts screamed against the premonitions swirling in her mind. "Keep walking," she murmured, her voice tight. They moved faster, but the air thickened, pressing in on her as if the fog were alive, trying to suffocate them. With every corner they turned, the silence grew heavier, suffused with an unshakable dread. A guttural whisper rose from the fog, wrapping around the words with venom. Rachel, it coiled into her ears, a sinister promise that seemed to come from all directions. "Did you hear that?" Lily's eyes widened, reflecting fear Rachel couldn't quell. "Yes, but keep going." Suddenly, a scream split the silence, a child's voice, echoing off the buildings. "Ethan!" Rachel's blood ran cold. "No, not Ethan." Her heart raced as panic surged. She turned, about to sprint back toward the sound, but Lily's grip tightened. "Please don't leave me, Mommy." Rachel wrestled with her instincts. If she went back alone, what might happen to Lily? But how could she leave without finding Ethan? In the swirling fog, she caught sight of a fleeting shadow moving in the opposite direction. "Ethan!" she shouted, voice drowning in despair. Nothing, just an all-consuming darkness. She felt as if something was watching them, lurking just beyond the veil of mist. "Mommy!" Lily's plea reverberated through her mind, anchoring her back to reality. "I'm scared." Desperation clawed at Rachel. She couldn't afford to be lost in panic. "Stay close, sweetie. We need to find a safe place." A light. They sped along the street towards the familiar glow of the gas station on the corner, dim and flickering like a dying star. It felt like their only hope. As they approached, something stirred behind them, a low growl that slithered through the fog. Rachel glanced back, dread blooming in her chest. The shadows were deeper now, shapes moving as if they had become more than mere figments of darkness. They churned together, twisting in impossible angles, drawing closer. Rachel pushed Lily ahead, urgency in her voice. "We need to go. Run." But as they rounded the final corner toward the station, something rocketed out, one final shadowy figure darting past them, just at the edge of vision. Rachel's breath caught. It was child-sized. "Ethan!" She lunged, but the figure melted into the fog, disappearing like a dream slipping away. "Mommy! Don't!" Lily cried out, panic lining her voice. The darkness thickened, pressing in on all sides. That growl echoed again, closer now. A low, rumbling sound full of hunger. Rachel's heart raced as dread exploded within her. With a flicker of hope, she reached towards the gas station. They had to get inside. But before they could take another step, a voice emerged from the fog, cold, mocking, and oh so familiar. "Where are you going, Rachel? The real fun is just beginning." She froze, a shiver racing down her spine. Had they truly escaped the house? Or had they only just stumbled into a new nightmare? Rachel knew they weren't safe yet, and the night was far from over. The gas station loomed ahead, its flickering lights barely cutting through the thickening fog. Rachel grabbed Lily's hand tighter, the chill in the air biting at their skin. Every shadow felt alive, pulsating with menace. She could hear the growling now, low and guttural, as it mingled with the blood in her ears, thumping, wild and desperate. "Just a little further, sweetie," she whispered, pushing Lily to keep moving despite the fear clawing at her throat. They weren't far now. She could see the door, the warped glass glinting mischievously, a promise of safety in this nightmare. But as Rachel neared the entrance, she skidded to a halt, her breath freezing over. The door swung slightly on its hinges, creaking in a way that felt almost inviting, yet sinister. "Mommy, can we go in?" Lily's small voice trembled, the fear embedded deeply now. Yes, but before she could finish, a sound sliced through the stillness. A child's laughter, hauntingly familiar, echoed from inside the station. "Ethan?" The name barely escaped her lips, a prayer and a plea. Her heart lurched. What if he was indeed inside? What if it was just a cruel trick? "Stay here," Rachel instructed, her voice a sharp whisper. She stepped forward, testing the ground as if it were quicksand. Each footfall felt crucial and vulnerable, echoing as loud as a gunshot in the oppressive quiet. As she crossed the threshold, she was met with a vision that sent a shock of terror coursing through her veins. The shelves stood stocked, untouched, but the lights flickered chaotically overhead, casting shifting shadows that writhed on the walls. Dusty aisles created corridors of dread, each turn a potential trap. "Ethan, where are you?" she called, louder now, the desperation spilling into her throat. "Can you hear me?" Lily lingered at the door, eyes wide with fear and curiosity. The moment felt stretched, like a string pulled too tight, ready to snap. A sudden crash resounded from the back, followed by that same laughter, taunting, echoing sinisterly, except it wasn't just Ethan's voice. There were others too, joining in as if the air itself conspired against them. The growl surged back to life, pushing Rachel forward, even as her instincts screamed at her to turn around and flee. She felt the pull of an invisible force, intimate and engulfing, urging her deeper into the station. Then she saw it, a shadow darting through the aisles, small, childlike, a flicker of movement that merged with the whispers of the fog outside, leading her deeper into the darkened heart of the gas station. "Mommy," Lily called, her voice straining against the tension, but Rachel's attention was captivated by the movement. "Just a second," Rachel barked, shaking her head to focus on the figure that twisted between the snacks and drinks, darting in and out of the flickering light. It couldn't be a ghost. It had to be Ethan. She rushed toward it, heart pounding, not caring about the dread pooling in her stomach. But just as she reached the corner of an aisle, the laughter stopped, plunging everything into oppressive silence. "Ethan?" She stepped forward. The air thickened, the oppressive fog creeping in through the door behind her, wrapping around her ankles like chains. And there he was, or what she thought might be him, a little boy with a grin that seemed off. Too wide, too gleeful. "Rachel!" he called out, tilting his head in an unnatural manner, mouth twisted in a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But before she could call out to him, a dark figure materialized beside him, rising silently from within the shadows. Rachel's breath caught. This wasn't Ethan, this was something entirely different. "Rachel," a voice whispered, low and seductive, like a serpent slithering into her ear. "Come and join us." A flood of nausea hit her. She stumbled back, fear extinguishing every ounce of hope. "Mommy!" Lily screamed from the door, piercing through Rachel's fogged senses, bringing her crashing back to reality. The door swung violently as something pushed against it from outside. Rachel's heart raced as panic surged. "Lily, get back, run." But she couldn't leave. Something was forcing Rachel forward. The shadows grabbed her, thick and heavy, pulling her towards the figure that now grinned at her. "Join us," it called out again, and behind it, more shadows writhed and twisted, forming grotesque shapes. Rachel's instincts screamed at her to escape, the fog closing in around her like a tightening noose. "No!" she cried, ripping herself back, willing her feet to move, to run, but the shadows lunged. "Mommy, please!" Lily's voice echoed in terror. In that moment, Rachel turned, heart racing, caught in an agonizing dilemma between the haunting laugh that beckoned and the terrified cries of her daughter. The night felt like it was swallowing her whole, just as those familiar voices reached out. Would she find a way back to Lily? Or was she too late? With every ounce of strength, Rachel bolted toward the door, determined to escape the clutches of the dark. But would she get there in time, before they grabbed hold of her forever? The shadows shifted like serpents as Rachel lunged toward the entrance. The air was heavy with the scent of earth and decay. With each desperate step, she felt the pulsating thrum of the darkness behind her, a creature feeding off her fear, gaining strength as she faltered. "Lily!" she shouted, but her voice splintered under the weight of dread. The door loomed ahead, so close and yet impossibly far, the gap between them a chasm filled with unseen horrors. The muffled laughter swelled again, enveloping her with sickening familiarity. "Ethan, I'm coming!" she screamed, forcing her limbs to move. The grotesque figure had followed her thoughts, its shadow dark and vast, blocking her escape like an impenetrable wall. "Leave her," it hissed, its voice a symphony of malice. "Join us forever." Rachel's heart thudded in her chest, each beat a countdown as panic clawed up her throat. With a jolt, she reached for the handle, every nerve ending screaming for her to wrench it open. But as her hand clutched the cold metal, an overwhelming force pushed back, pinning her in place. Then she spotted Lily, still at the entrance, her small frame seemingly swallowed by the fog outside. "Mommy!" She stood rooted, oblivious to the nightmare lurking just inside. Rachel's heart lurched, a wound tightening as she sprinted forward, breaking through the barrier of air that nearly immobilized her. "Come on, sweetie, we have to go." As she darted, the laughter morphed into a constant echo, twisting into a mockery of her desperation. A voice that sounded so much like her son blended into the fray, whining playfully, "Stay with me, Rachel." Just when she thought she could reach Lily, a pair of glistening, empty eyes filled the space by her side. "Not yet," it whispered, insistent, leaning closer, its breath cold and foul. "No," Rachel screamed, shaking her head to dispel the grip of the nightmare tightening around her mind. She focused on Lily, who teetered uncertainly at the threshold. Fear etched across her small face. "Mommy, I don't want to." The words were cut off by a sudden tremor in the ground, a pulsing energy beneath them that felt alive, hungry. "Stay back," Rachel yelled again, both to her daughter and the monstrosity that loomed. She could sense the tendrils of the darkness reaching for Lily, a palpable hunger in the air. Time twisted, and everything felt unreal. Would she have to choose? Was there no other way? In a sudden blaze of courage, Rachel charged forward, flinging herself between Lily and the specter that desired her. A horrific roar erupted, an animalistic sound reverberating like thunder. She threw her arms wide as if she could shield her child from the abyss. "Lily, listen to me. You have to run. Just go." The fog swirled, drawing tight around them as silence threatened to follow. The laughter ceased, replaced by a heavy breath that filled the space, awaiting action. She felt Lily's tiny hands grasping her leg, holding on with a strength that belied her age. "Mommy, I can't leave you." Her daughter's voice trembled, a fragile thread weaving through the tension. "Just trust me. You have to run." But inside, Rachel felt the shadows thickening. The grotesque figure stepped closer, its grin like an open maw, ready to devour everything in its path. Suddenly, the gas station's lights blared back to life, the fluorescent glow cutting through the darkness like a blade. It momentarily blinded the shadows, causing them to recoil, howling in pain. But that fleeting relief revealed the figure in full. It wasn't just a monster. It was every child's nightmare given flesh. Eyes wide, teeth sharp, and limbs unnatural, it towered above Rachel, pulling at her will. "Come play with us, Rachel," it coaxed, the voices surrounding them merging into a haunting harmony. Rachel swayed, teetering on the brink of letting them pull her in. But no, she could see it now. The whispers, the laughter, all of it was designed to break her, to shatter the bond between her and Lily. "Mommy!" Her daughter screamed again, and Rachel's heart soared like a phoenix. In that moment she lunged toward the door, dragging Lily with her as they desperately raced against the malevolence. But as she reached for the handle, it turned cold once more. Something was pushing against it from the outside. No, not just pushing. The door began to rattle and shake violently, fingers clawing from the other side. "Let us in," a chorus of voices begged, slipping into her ears like poison. Don't leave us. Would she be able to break free from this nightmare? Or was it all just beginning? As the figures outside lunged and twisted in the doorway, Rachel felt the ground beneath her feet crack, reality slipping away into the abyss. The last image that seared into her brain was those wide, gleeful eyes staring back at her, the darkness hoarding its prey. Just before everything descended into chaos, all Rachel could think was how far she would go to protect her child. But would love be enough to save them, or had their fate already been sealed? Rachel's heart raced as the door thrummed beneath her palm, a furious dance of wood against the monster outside. The icy fingers scraping at the edges sent shivers down her spine. She had to move, had to break free from this hell, but the weight of the darkness was suffocating. "Mommy!" Lily's voice shattered the chaos, pulling Rachel back, forcing her to remember what mattered. She looked into her daughter's terrified eyes, those wide mirrors of innocence. The laughter and voices were a distant murmur now, replaced by a raw, primal fear that surged like boiling water in her veins. Then, a crack echoed through the air. The door shuddered violently, splintering under the pressure of the unseen shadow. Rachel gasped, stepping back, realizing that escape was no longer just uncertain. It was a near impossibility. "Lily, hold on to me," she shouted, reestablishing her grip on her daughter. But even as she spoke, the lights flickered again, each pulse of electricity, a sinking hope, renewed yet fleeting. The grotesque figure stood before them, a nightmare rendered in flesh. Its grin widened, revealing teeth that glimmered like shards of broken glass. "You can't leave, Rachel," it crooned, voice like honey dipped in venom. "You're part of us now." "No!" Rachel screamed, shaking her head furiously. She could not let fear snatch her away from the only thing that mattered. The door behind them moaned. An eerie energy rippled through the crack, as if the darkness itself sought to consume them alive. "Listen," the thing rasped, reaching toward Lily, its fingers long and spider-like. "She wants to meet her brothers and sisters. Don't you see? She'll be happier with us. Get away from her," Rachel shouted, stepping in front of Lily, though a part of her wished the words held enough power to push it back. Her mind screamed for her to flee, to take Lily and leave this nightmare behind. But the beast's words wrapped around her tight, knitting doubt into her resolve. "Don't you want the joy they have?" it pressed, twisting its head as though developing a new strategy to breach her defenses. "They play together forever. No more sadness, no more pain." Rachel felt a tear slip down her cheek, the truth of those words cutting deep. The shadow, monstrous and relentless, pulled at the edges of her heart. Joy, happiness. The ache of loss pressed against her, a weight she had carried too long. But those feelings had been twisted here. These children were not free. They were trapped, shackled by their own darkness. "No," she gasped, a breath of defiance sparking within her. "Lily isn't yours. She belongs with me." With every ounce of strength she had, she grasped the door handle again. The cold metal seemed to pulse against her palm like a heartbeat of hope. "We're leaving," she declared to both Lily and the darkness. "Mommy!" Lily cried, her voice infused with newfound strength, clinging to Rachel's leg. "Please!" The door shook violently, this time not just from the creature's force, but the anger of countless souls begging behind it. Rachel flung her weight against the door, her body screaming, and finally, it gave a little. Just a little. With a renewed cry of determination, she pushed harder, feeling the soft pressure of the darkness slip like mist between her fingers. Then it hit her, a realization so strong it washed over her like ice water. "Lily, you are stronger than this," she urged, her voice steady, fierce. "You have to believe that." Tremors quaked through the ground, pulling at them, strangling the space where fear had settled. In that instant, Lily's grip on Rachel tightened, her tiny frame quivering, but within her eyes flickered something else, resolve. "Together," the girl shouted. With one last surge of energy, Rachel surged forward, yanking open the door with all the rage and longing she could muster. Light poured in, flooding the space, but it wasn't enough to suffocate the monstrous figure that screamed in fury, clawing for its bargain. Just as the light embraced them, Rachel felt a sharp pain ricochet through her chest. The creature's hand grazed over her heart, wretched and cold, a final attempt to steal her away. The world spun, like a grim carnival ride, and she had no idea what lay beyond the threshold. "Mommy!" The echo of her daughter's fear wove its way through the light, pulling Rachel back, anchoring her in reality. She stumbled forward, grasping at air, desperately trying to shield Lily from the sudden rush. "Hold on tight," she ordered, ready to plunge into whatever awaited them. But the darkness flared, shrieking like it had lost a battle. Not everything was over. This was just the start of a new terror waiting on the other side of the light. What had they unleashed? And would they still be whole when they emerged? With dread coiling around her heart, Rachel screamed, "Hold on!" As they crossed into the unknown, a haunting laughter erupted behind them, melodic and filled with promises of suffering yet to come. The exit loomed, but was it really an exit? Or another door into a deeper nightmare? The light swallowed them whole, a blinding whirlwind that felt like diving into the sun. For a moment, pain and fear didn't exist. Then just as quickly, the sensation shifted, darkening like a storm cloud rolling over a bright sky. Rachel felt the ground beneath her give way, a tumble that sent them sprawling through. Thud! Silence crashed around them, heavy and suffocating. They lay in thick darkness, gasping. Rachel blinked, her eyes struggling to adjust. The air was stale, and a metallic taste clung to her mouth. She could feel Lily beside her, trembling. "Mommy?" Lily's voice barely broke the oppressive silence. Panic rose in Rachel's chest. "Where are we?" "I don't know, sweetheart," Rachel whispered. She pushed herself up, hands slick against something damp and uneven beneath her fingers. Instinctively, she clutched Lily's hand tighter. "Stay close to me." The darkness felt different here, thicker, like it had weight, pressing down on her very soul. With painstaking slowness, Rachel began inching forward, dragging Lily along with her. Each step reverberated in the hollow space, making her acutely aware of their vulnerability. A sudden sweet, sickly scent filled the air. Rachel's breath hitched, and her heart raced. It reminded her of something rotten, abandoned. Her instincts screamed danger, but she pressed onward, urging herself to stay focused. She couldn't let fear paralyze her, not again. What if we're lost?" Lily whispered, her voice breaking Rachel's resolve. The girl's trembling reverberated in their current tomb, and dread clawed at Rachel's throat. "No, we're not lost. We'll find a way out," she assured her, though anxiety tightened her heart. The memory of the creature haunted her. Had they truly escaped? The laughter still echoed faintly at the back of her mind, a cruel reminder that this wasn't over. As they moved deeper into the void, an unsettling sound slithered through the air, the soft patter of small feet. Rachel tensed, eyes darting around as shadows twisted and swirled, shapes stretching against the impenetrable dark. She felt the desire to scream rising again but pushed it down. She had to be the strong one. "What is that?" Lily asked, eyes wide, fear painting her features stark. "Stay behind me," Rachel hissed, but her legs felt like lead, every nerve ending screeching with apprehension. A low murmur cascaded around them, whispers snaking into her ears, indecipherable but laced with malice. They were not alone. Suddenly, flickering lights ignited above them, illuminating their surroundings. The cavernous room was filled with twisted mirrors, each more warped than the last. The reflections showed unsettling glimpses of Rachel and Lily, faces twisted in fear, eyes filled with terror. It was as if their very essence was being pulled, stretched, content to be devoured. "Mommy!" Lily cried, backing away instinctively. The mirrors flickered with a life of their own, and Rachel felt a cold sweep of fear wash over her. "Look away, Lily!" She turned her daughter away, but the shadows thickened, coiling around them, pulling them towards the mirrors, towards their own reflections that tore at their psyche. "No, no, no!" Rachel shouted, pushing at the air as if to create a barrier between them and the haunting reflections. With every desperate breath, she felt her strength waning, the darkness beckoning her to come closer, to give in. Suddenly, one mirror shattered, the sound reverberating in her bones. Shards glittered ominously on the ground like razors. Rachel's heart dropped as from the broken surface, a figure began to materialize, a grotesque imitation of herself, grinning with devilish glee. "Join us," it whispered, voice hypnotic and familiar. "You don't need to fight." Rachel shook her head furiously. "No, I will not surrender." But the creature's eyes, glowing with a sick light, bore into her soul. She felt Lily's trembling hand slip from hers for just a second, reaching out toward the mirror, entranced. Lily! She whipped around, fear igniting like a flame. But as she grasped Lily's wrist, she found herself stuck. Both in horror and unexpected accusations flared in her chest. Had she brought them here? Would they be trapped forever, caught between the light and darkness, losing themselves to the call of something unspeakably sinister? As shards of glass continued to fall around her, each slice felt like a promise of torment to come. In that moment, a deep, chilling laugh echoed through the mirrors, growing louder, more insistent. Welcome to your new reality. What would they face now? As echoes of sorrow and joy mingled in a wretched melody? Would Rachel's resolve shatter like the glass? Or could she reclaim her daughter from the abyss that beckoned? The realization settled over Rachel like a heavy cloak, smothering and unbearable. The grotesque figure, her distorted reflection, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. It twisted and writhed as if mocking her terror, each snicker echoing in the dark like shattering glass. "Mommy!" Lily's voice broke through the fog of dread. Rachel turned just in time to see her daughter swaying, caught between the distorted reflection and the icy grasp of reality. Rachel instinctively jerked her daughter back, a fierce determination igniting within her. "Stay close," Rachel screamed, tightening her grip around Lily's wrist, but the shadows seemed to thicken around them, alive and writhing. It was as if they were in a fishing net, the noose tightening with every shallow breath she took. Around them, reflections echoed her movements, copies of themselves twisted into grotesqueries, faces stretched in silent screams. Each angle warped their reality, pulling them deeper into a pit of despair. Rachel's heart raced wildly, forcing her to fight against the suffocating weight of the darkness surrounding them. "Don't look at them," she implored, her voice cracking like a fragile glass ornament. She tugged Lily away from the mirrors, feeling their enticing pull like a cold breeze brushing against her skin. They stumbled back, feet crunching on shards of glass, the remnants of broken promises glittering beneath their toes. The sharp pain shot up Rachel's leg, snapping her focus back to the present. The mirrors vibrated ominously, resonating with an unseen power. "Mommy, I can hear them." Lily's voice was faint, trembling with the weight of unseen forces. "They're calling for us." Rachel's stomach twisted. She couldn't allow her daughter's spirit to be consumed by this nightmare. "No, Lily, it's a trick. We have to keep moving," Rachel said through gritted teeth, dragging Lily toward a darker corner of the room, a space where no light dared penetrate. As they retreated, a whisper washed over them, seductive and sweet. "Join us," it called again, the same voice as her reflection. Rachel felt sweat trickle down her back. "You'll be safe. Free from everything." "No," Rachel shouted, her voice reverberating against the walls of the dim chamber. "We are not joining anyone." She stumbled, nearly losing her footing, but caught herself just in time. The laughter grew louder, a cacophony of malice that threatened to drown her out. But one thing remained clear: she would fight. For Lily. Breathing heavily, Rachel looked back. The reflections were slowly changing, merging into grotesque masses, consuming the images of themselves, pulling their faces into pools of darkness. "Mommy!" Lily cried, tears streaming down her cheeks, as she pointed toward another mirror starting to vibrate ominously. A figure emerged from it, something horrifyingly familiar with elongated limbs and empty eyes. It was a shadow of something she once knew. Rachel felt her knees weaken, her resolve faltering. "Not you," she whispered in disbelief. Panic swarmed like bees in her chest. "Make her join us." The voices sang, a chilling chorus that drew closer, the echoes melding into one sinister tune. "Run, Lily, run," Rachel yelled, fear cracking her voice as she yanked her daughter away, the mirror now fully rippling with a life of its own, stretching for them with an unholy hunger. But the room felt endless, the darkness closing in, shadows wrapping tighter, thoughts swirling like a cyclone of doubt. Just as they turned to flee, Rachel heard a noise, a soft crackle, like glass breaking, not from the mirrors but from behind them. "What is it?" Lily whimpered. Stay close. She pressed on, dread pooling in her stomach. Then she felt it too, a hand clawing at her back. I'm right behind you. Rachel, the voice echoed. A soft whisper knitting through the corridor of broken glass. Rachel turned, heart hammering. The shadows shifted, and in the chaos, she caught sight of her own reflection, the figure that wanted her to join. Don't look at me, Rachel screamed, wrestling her own shadow, desperate to break the grasp of the haunting horror clambering to ensnare them both. And as the grips of darkness flared, they heard it, a new laughter melding into the air, sinister and inviting, chilling down their spines. Leave nothing behind, but Rachel's resolve was tested. Was this the end or the only beginning of their descent into madness? With a determination she didn't know she had, Rachel called out, praying for a flicker of hope to guide them. Lily, we'll get through this. We're stronger than they are. But would it be enough to withstand the horrors lurking just beyond the veil? Or would they both become trapped forever in this unending nightmare? Rachel felt a chill creep up her spine as she struggled to fight off the beckoning shadows. The laughter around her twisted like barbed wire in her ears. Leave nothing behind, it echoed. A seductive command that threatened to unravel her sanity. The deeper they moved into the darkness, the more it seemed to come alive, pulsing, breathing, hungering for what was left of their souls. Mommy! Lily shrieked again, her voice cutting through the noise, frayed at the edges like the hem of a well-loved dress. We can't go that way. She pointed tremblingly to a small alcove, shadows shifting unnaturally, now alive with a hunger of their own. Rachel hesitated, fear etching lines into her forehead. Where should they run? But time was running out. The sinister figures behind them were hungry for more than just their fear. The once familiar contours of the room warped into an endless nightmare horizon, taunting them to choose the wrong path. Trust me, Rachel urged, pulling Lily toward the alcove. As soon as they crossed its threshold, silence engulfed them, a heavy, thick silence pressed around them like a tomb. Darkness wrapped around their bodies as they crouched down, hearts pounding in the stillness. Rachel pulled Lily tight to her chest, her throat constricted with terror. Stay quiet, she whispered, but a faint whisper slipped through, slicing the air. Playing hide and seek, let us play again. The words oozed from the darkness, sounding especially cruel in that void. Rachel's breath quickened as she strained to listen, shaking. The shadows were hunting. They could feel the tension, a silence so profound it sparked panic. Lily squeezed her mother's hand, eyes wide with horror. Mommy, what are they going to do? Rachel didn't know. They couldn't stay hidden forever. She decided to stand and face whatever hunted them. We have to find a way out. There must be a door or a window. As she lifted her head, the gloom seemed to whisper her name, curling around her like smoke. Rachel, join us, the whisper echoed. A disembodied voice that had both their names etched in it. A dark promise of belonging. She felt the scrape of nails against a wall suddenly behind them, a clawing sound that sent chills racing through her. Not again, Rachel gasped, scrambling to her feet. Mommy! Lily whimpered, pulling back as Rachel did her best to block the way, an instinct forcing its way into her mind. But shadows now poured through the alcove, slipping in like water through a crack. With desperate determination, Rachel grabbed Lily by the wrist again. We have to move. The shadows lunged, tendrils reaching with a life of their own, sleek but hideous. They rushed with a feral interest, fed by Rachel's fear. Together, they pushed forward, darting into a hallway they had never noticed before. Walls closed in on either side, suffocating them with the sense of being watched, eyes everywhere, mocking. Suddenly, they stumbled into a room, dim and filled with broken furniture. A battered old rocking chair creaked eerily, swaying gently as if remembering its occupant. Mommy, it's cold, Lily whispered, her breath fogging the air. Rachel ignored the creeping sensation of dread. They had to keep moving. But then Lily froze, transfixed by an antique dresser against the wall. Look, Mommy, she breathed, pointing with burning intensity. Something shimmered within it. Was a locket, nestled amidst dusty trinkets. Rachel felt an inexplicable pull toward it, a whisper in her mind encouraging her to reach out, to take it. Lily, no, but the draw grew stronger. She felt herself stepping forward, against her will. As Rachel's fingers brushed cold metal, all the lights in the room flickered, 1,000 reflections appearing in split seconds, each flicker revealing glimpses of twisted faces screaming a reflection of horrors yet untold. "Mommy!" Lily cried, but Rachel couldn't pull back. The locket glinted with unnerving allure. "I have to know," Rachel whispered, driven by unseen forces. But when she grasped the locket tightly, the visions became clearer. Her reflection, pulling her, blending with the grotesque they had seen in the mirrors. And then it hit her, a horrifying truth that shattered her mind. They want to be free. Suddenly the shadows surged forward, swelling like a rising tide. They were out of time. "Run, Lily, run!" Rachel bellowed again, but as they turned to escape, the air became thick with the stench of despair, the laughter crescendoing into a vicious symphony. How could they break free? Rachel stumbled, lost in a haze of shadows, as the world dissolved into chaos. Their very survival hung by a thread, a fragile hope that might very well be snuffed out. And that laughter, it remained, now mingling with ominous whispers, leave nothing behind. But could they escape the impending darkness? Or would they surrender to the suffocating void? The darkness wrapped around Rachel and Lily like a funeral shroud, heavy and suffocating. The cacophony of whispers curled around them, oozing desperation. "Leave nothing behind," they chanted, a grim promise to consume everything they held dear. Fear clawed at Rachel's insides, twisting and gnawing as she fought to keep her grip on her daughter. "Mommy!" Lily's voice cut through the oppressive noise, raw and terrified. Rachel's heart ached to the core. "Don't let them take us. We're not going anywhere," Rachel growled, mustering every ounce of strength she had left. "I won't let them." With her baby's small hand clasped tightly in hers, she surged forward. The shadows writhed and pulsed, mere extensions of a grotesque reality, desperate to drag them down into the abyss. She could almost hear them howling, feeling their breath against her skin. But she wouldn't succumb. Not now. Not ever. They hurtled past the remnants of twisted mirrors and damaged furniture, pushing deeper into the room. Rachel spotted another door, a glint of faded brass amid the chaos. Hope ignited a flicker within her chest. "There, Lily! The door!" They ran toward the glimmer, but her shadows gripped at her ankles, tugging her back, trying to pull her into their orbit. Fear swelled, a tidal wave crashing over her. But Rachel was no longer merely fighting for herself. She was fighting for Lily. "Stay with me," she urged, pulling Lily along as they sprinted for the door, the shadows weaving in and out of reach. "We can't look back." With a final burst of energy, Rachel shoved the door open, nearly knocking it off its hinges. They stumbled out into a blinding light that engulfed them like a warm embrace. The world outside was like a starry night sky, the air crisp and fresh. For a moment, the soothing chorus of crickets and night creatures masked the echoes of their previous nightmare. They stood in an open field, surrounded by familiar trees, bathed in moonlight. The relief washed over Rachel like a cleansing wave. "Mommy," Lily breathed, her face pale from the ordeal. "Did we make it?" "I think so, sweetheart." Rachel crouched, clutching Lily's face in her hands, forcing her daughter to meet her eyes. "But we have to keep moving. We can't stop until we're safe." They began to walk, hand in hand, the night stretching endlessly before them. Each step felt lighter, more hopeful. The gentle rustle of wind through the trees was now a sweet balm for their frayed nerves. But the laughter lingered, echoing softly behind them. Shadows swayed just at the edge of their vision, reminding Rachel of the darkness they had left behind. It made her shiver. "Mommy?" Lily asked, her voice still cracked from fear. "What if they come back?" Rachel looked down at her little girl, the determination in her chest hardening. "They won't. I won't let them." Just ahead, the gas station stood in familiar silhouette, a beacon of safety amid their chaos. The flickering sign almost seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Rachel pushed forward, urgency driving her. Nadia was waiting, and they needed to tell someone, share the truth, so no one else would fall prey to the sinister shadows that lurked in their lives. As they neared, Rachel noticed that no one seemed to be inside. Her heart sank again. Why wouldn't anyone be here? No time to dwell on that now. Rachel grabbed the door and stumbled inside. "I'll call the police," she exclaimed, pulling out her phone, fingers trembling. But as she searched for service, a laughter echoed from behind. Rachel, it slithered through the air, a dark reminder of the horrors they had just faced. And then the exit door slammed shut, an oppressive thud that rattled through the station like an omen. "Run!" Rachel shouted, eyes wild. Grabbing Lily, she darted towards the back of the store. "Keep up!" But just as they reached the counter, a shadow spilled into the gas station, dark and twisting. Rachel felt her instincts howl like a siren. "No, not now!" Lily cried out, and Rachel's chest tightened painfully. But then she hesitated, feeling the warmth of her daughter's hand in hers, reminded of their bond. Every moment they'd survived together tethered her to strength. An idea surged to life, a defiant spark igniting in her heart. "Lily, listen to me," Rachel yelled, her voice unwavering. "We are stronger than they are. We've conquered them before." "Yes, Mommy." Lily nodded fiercely. Together, they turned to face the darkness converging around them, feeling the heaviness lift slightly. "Leave us alone," Rachel shouted, pushing against the creature that began to claw its way toward them. The shadows screeched, taken aback as if hit by a wave. "Leave us alone," Lily echoed, defining their will. And something inside the darkness flickered a hint of fear. "Yes, together," Rachel declared, steadying her feet. "You may haunt us, but you don't own us. Not anymore." The laughter turned to hissing, furious and vicious as the darkness began to shake and tremor, slipping back into its recesses. For every ounce of strength they carried in their hearts, they became a barrier against the hate and malice that sought to claim them. Driven by determination, they charged forward. With one final cry, they launched through the exit door simultaneously as the shadows recoiled. They burst out into the cool night air, leaving the gas station behind, the malevolence sputtering and fading into the abyss. As they reached the cars parked out front, Rachel scooped Lily into her arms, holding her tight. "We did it, my love. We made it." Lily squeezed her mom's neck, a mix of relief and residual fear clouding her bright eyes. "Are we safe now?" Rachel looked at the stars twinkling above them, feeling the warmth of the night air. "For now. But I want you to promise me something." "What?" "No matter what happens, always remember the power we have together. Love can fight the darkest shadows." "Okay, Mommy. I promise." And as they stood embraced in the moonlight, the laughter faded into silence, forever grounding them in a newfound strength forged from their journey. They were survivors, and together, they would face whatever came next. A chill brushed against Rachel's skin, but she held Lily tighter, ready to take each step together and guided by the love they had crafted through darkness. And as they turned to leave the forgotten gas station behind, they did so with a glimmer of hope shining through the shadows, a promise of brighter tomorrows. So remember, every night has its dawn, and together no shadows can claim you. Now, if you enjoyed this conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now, it feeds the algorithm and helps get these tales to the friends who need them most. Flood that comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is crucial, and only true fans understand how to keep the magic alive here.